Good morning.
Hello, everybody. How are y'all doing this morning?
I'm pretty good.
How are you? You're good? You're great?
I'm great.
You good?
Are you okay?
I am so ready to drink this coffee.
He's been running.
It has been a chaotic morning.
Computers don't always do computery things.
Why? Why not? I wish they would. I'm going to set that out of the way before I make a wild ruckus with my coffee.
Right.
Don't nobody need that.
No.
So, anyway.
Whew. Time for more coffee.
Welcome to Saturday. You did it. You made it through the week.
That's right.
I hope you got your spoopy on because it's Halloween weekend.
It is. Oh, we didn't dress up.
We didn't. I did dress up as Jason. Not the scary movie guy, Jason. Just
right.
Jason.
I could have got like little, like at least some little cat ears or something.
Oh, you could have, for sure.
Anyway.
How about today you be a quilt shop owner?
That's what I could do.
Yes. Nice. Okay. Anyway, it's going to be a long weekend of eating a lot of candy.
Yeah.
Or giving out a lot of candy or something. We'll do that all on Monday.
Yeah. I did see a post on Facebook that said, "Hey, when is the trick-or-treating going to happen?" And I'm like, always happens on the 31st?
Usually on Halloween day.
But anyway, maybe you don't know.
Maybe we should have multiple days of Halloween.
I mean, I've never had anybody trick-or-treat on any other day.
No.
Now, I must say, there are things like they'll do...
Like the trunk or treats.
The trunk or treats.
Right.
And actually, there's a parade today.
Is there one in town?
Is it a parade? Is it, what do you call it? Hijinks. The kids all get to go to the businesses that are on Main Street uptown in this little 2-block area. And
Gotcha.
Halloween hijinks. They get to go from business to business and get some more candy.
That's a good time.
They're always so cute, the little bit.
I did enjoy that the first year we were uptown.
Yeah.
That we got to see that. That was a good time. Our first couple of years we were uptown, I guess.
Right.
But anyway.
Now we're still on Main Street, just out of that 2-block range.
That fun little downtowny
right
conversation. Anyway, we're more fun down here anyway.
Right.
Anyway.
More parking. Anyway, okay. I think I've said anyway too much. Now, let's look at who's on here and say good morning, people.
We got people saying good morning. Feel free to say hello, good morning. Or don't. That's okay.
Yeah.
You can hang out and watch us for now.
If you're new, let us know where you're from.
Right.
Where you're watching from. That would be awesome.
Yes. So we got Carol hanging out with us this morning, along with Kelly. Hello, Kelly. Kathy out there, and so is Vicky from California. That's a bit of a drive.
Yeah.
Never driven there myself. Probably never will.
Good morning, Joanne.
Hello.
Saw her this week. Good morning.
And good morning, Deborah. And Marlene. Hi. Good morning, good morning. And Linda. Okay, we'll see you later. That sounds like a good time.
Yay.
Hello, Joyce. And good morning, Christine. And hello, Debbie. And good morning, Leslie.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Howdy day. Howdy day? How do you do? Today? I don't know.
All the things.
Make it up as you go along.
That sounds good.
That's all you can do sometimes. Roll with it. All right.
Good morning, Jody.
So we're going to be continuing on the Quilting 101 conversation.
Correct.
Today is a fairly important one, I think.
Absolutely.
We are going to be talking about that, which makes your quilt what it is. That makes it squishy and huggable and lovey and all the innards of it.
Keeps you warm.
You don't see it. That's why nobody talks about it.
Well, I don't know about nobody.
I don't, normally, because it's gross. It's the insides. I ain't going to talk anyway. Batting. Super important conversation. Yes. We need to have it. We're going to talk about it. Hopefully answer some questions. Absolutely. If you got questions, don't be afraid to ask them.
Especially if you are new to this, this is great information. If you're going to take your quilt to a long armor, you need to know what kind of batting you want to have. And it's hard if you've never used it before, like you're not sure. Some long armors might only use one kind of batting.
Yeah.
So you need to know if you're going to like that or not, if that's going to work for you.
Right.
So let's talk about
We'll talk
batting.
about it. Before we dive into that, though, first things first, a couple announcements to make sure that you're aware of. If you're a local customer and have your loyalty card, today is a 5th Saturday. 5th. I said 6, not in.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That means your normal 10% discount is doubled. So make sure you come in today and make use of that. That'll be very important for you to do that.
And we're ready for you.
I'm ready for people to come in. It'll be fun. We also have the 100 modern block quilt along thing that's happening. You're taking signups for this
Sampler.
now. City Sampler.
If I refer to it as City Sampler,
we're settling on City Sampler right now.
Yes, that's what we're calling it.
City Sampler sew along.
Yeah. So, and we're going to do it on Saturdays.
And Tuesdays.
Some Saturdays. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway.
So, there definitely is some room, still a couple of spots in Saturday.
Yes.
Besides that, the Tuesday and the Friday are practically full.
Yeah.
Might be able to squeeze one.
We do have, don't forget, there's a Zoom component. So if you're not local and you want to do the sew along with Danielle, starts in January. There's a Zoom component. You can do it remotely. We do have a video out there we just posted the other day. Maybe I'll do a way to boost it so you can find it. But all the information's in there.
But can I show them this? Like,
what is that?
I cut out one of my blocks.
Oh, look at that.
I've cut out a couple of blocks just to kind of get them ready. And I put them on these little boards and see how it's not falling off.
It's not glued there, I promise.
It's not sewn together. It's not falling off. Anyway, so I've been testing out some little design boards.
Yeah.
Get some organizational stuff figured out before we start the first class.
Yep. But if you're going to be in, you want to ask questions on that, again, don't be afraid to ask that, or you can ask comments here.
Absolutely. I think we've had a couple more people. Bonnie. Hi, Bonnie. She signed up yesterday.
Hello.
And maybe I shouldn't tell everybody's business.
You shouldn't.
Okay. Anyway, and good morning to Pam.
And Jody.
I said hi to Jody.
Did you?
Hi, Jody.
When did that happen?
You were talking.
Oh. Surprise.
Is anyone surprised?
Not a soul. Not a soul. And the final announcement thing to be keeping in mind is that we are going to have a quilt auction. I would call it my 3rd annual one, but we did it in 20 in November, and then we did it in 21 in May.
Right.
And then we haven't done it since May. Basically, we're going to sell off some of our shop samples that we no longer need because either we don't have the line anymore or it's just time for it to find a new home for loving care and all that stuff.
Right.
So that will be Saturday, November 12th. That's in a couple, 3 weeks. So make sure you tune in for that. Get yourself some quilts. Or if you got people that want quilts, these are going to be throw size, not really gigantic ones. Maybe a fairly,
anyway,
super huge.
There's some quilts.
They're going to be worth checking out, especially with the holiday season coming.
Right.
And a portion
auction
of that we will be donating as well to good causes.
November 12th.
Be here for that.
Yeah, and we'll give you more information. But good morning to Eileen and Robin, Pam, and Cindy.
Hello. No. Okay.
And Cindy, late again? No.
Never. I don't know what you're talking about, Cindy.
Right.
I'm glad you made it. All right. So that's all the announcements I got, I think. You ready to do this?
I hope I didn't upset Cindy.
I don't think so. I think she's got some thicker skin than to deal with that.
Right.
A little guff from a dressed up as a quilt shop owner today.
Right, yeah. I mean, my Halloween costume here. I'm a quilt shop owner. Am I doing a good job? Do I look like one?
To be in charge. That's what I do every day. All right, so we're going to talk about batting. So let's dive into that, shall we?
Absolutely.
So what is batting? If you look at a quilt and you see that squishiness, lovingness to it, that is the batting, that is the innards, right?
Right.
So did you know that they can date a quilt based on its batting, based on its innards?
How can you see the innards?
I'm sure you can feel like the large pieces of impurity and the cotton batting that they used on the innard sides.
Yeah.
They actually, it turns out that the way they used to process the cotton and they would roll it into sections was actually called rolling it onto a bat. So therefore, it's batting from that.
Oh, right? That's where the name came from?
Right. Go figure that. So they used to clean the cotton by hand, and then they came out with the cotton gin,
Right.
Short for engine. So anyway, but it wasn't as effective as hand cleaning the cotton was. So if it's like super seedy and such,
you can feel that.
You could probably feel that, and that could tell you about what era time frame that's going to be from. Crazy, right?
Yeah, that
it's
is
amazing
crazy.
what the Google has for information.
I bet. So we've had quilts appraised before, and I bet that part of it is, let's see,
right,
that if you have some batting with some impurities, you can kind of feel them.
Yeah.
Wow, who knew?
Fun. That's
Good
fun.
Information.
Right. Battings used to be either cotton or wool, and actually, what they would end up doing is after a quilt had run its course, they would take it and use that as the batting for the next quilt.
Right.
So having a couple layers of quilting.
Right, you can have some old quilts with a quilt inside. It's like finding one of those paintings
with
there's
a painting
behind. Oh, okay. I have never experienced such a thing, but it does happen.
Any paintings.
It does happen. People get really excited about it too. Anyway, because they found this work from
right.
Whatever. Let's move on.
Moving on. Okay, we're moving on.
It feels like art also,
Well, it is art. Quilting
right?
has become more of an art form than a necessity type thing.
Right.
So these are for sure in the same general wheelhouse.
Right.
At least that's the way I feel about it.
So cotton and wool, those were the two they used.
Those were the two, and they would actually use like a wool blanket as a batting, which is a wonderful idea. I mean, how can you go wrong with wool?
It is my favorite.
So do we need to have batting in our quilts? Yes, normally. It helps give it structure.
So generally, the definition of a quilt is that it needs to have 3 layers.
We discussed that in the very first beginning Quilting 101 class.
Yeah. So it should have something as that middle layer.
Right.
Now, there are quilts, cathedral window quilts. Look it up.
Yeah.
Look up a cathedral. Don't do it right now.
Don't do it right now.
Google
Hold on a second.
cathedral window quilts. I don't know why that was hard for me to say. But they generally don't have batting because the way that you piece it together, it's all being pieced at the same time, and there's not any batting in there. So some people have argued that is not actually a quilt, and I have made one. And let me tell you, if that's not a quilt, I don't know.
The amount of work that goes into it, and you got those layers of fabric. I mean, yeah, I would be on the it as a quilt side. I would be on that side. I can understand the purist side of it, though, that if you don't have that third layer of an innards of sorts, it's not quilt per se. Yeah. But,
anyway,
to each his own. Where there's no quilt police here. Whatever makes you happy. Do what you got to do.
Kelly, you're not the quilt police, are you?
No.
Heck no.
Anyway, so can you go with a quilt without batting? I've actually had customers request this. They have 2 layers of material. They want to just sew it together because it's going to be for a baby. Going to do something like that, you do need to use a thinner thread because otherwise your stitches that hold your quilt sandwich together don't have anywhere to hide.
You're going to see them.
You're going to see
either the top or on the bottom.
So you're going to
we've had like fleece.
Yes.
Like if they have fleece on the top and fleece on the back, those are both kind of thick anyway.
Fluffy.
So you really don't necessarily need a batting because it's still going to be warm. It's still going to, in that instance, the threads would be able to hide because you've got kind of that fluffier material.
Yeah.
But 2 thin layers of cotton.
Nowhere to hide.
Right.
Oof, that was tough to say. So yes. So we talked about how there was 2 types of batting back in the day. Nowadays we have choices. So many choices. So many choices. Usually your choices come down to a couple different things. Primarily loft is going to be the big determining factor of what type of batting you're probably going to want to use. So
loft, not like a space up high in the
barn.
Right. This is loft. Like how thick and fluffy is it?
Right.
Thin, is it fat? That kind of thing.
I mean, a really good example is that these 2 guys sitting right here. I don't know if I can see it on video. Oh yeah, they're
pull them back a little bit.
So this is a baby size batting. This is polyester, also known as poly for short. And this is also the same size batting, but it's cotton. As you can see, there's a difference in volume. Not
like this is trying to get out of this bag.
Yeah, it wants out of that bag still. So if you're looking
they're both like 40 by 60, 45 by 60, 45 by 60. So they are exactly the same size.
Just not volume-wise.
Right.
The reason for the differences is if you're looking to have a baby quilt and you want it to be fluffy and squishy and cuddly, then that's where you're going to want a heavier loft or a higher loft.
Right.
If you're going to put it on a wall, hanging on a wall, make a table runner out of it, maybe you don't need that loftiness because it's going to be really hard to put the gravy on.
Bonnie said that crazy quilts don't often have batting.
Oh.
Sometimes they're just tacked together. I mean, sometimes they have multiple layers of stuff, and then you've got some hand stitching on there. And I want to do more crazy quilt stuff, but I don't even know where to begin.
I think also, if it's crazy, you just do whatever you want.
I need to find hours. Can you find me some hours?
I'm fresh out. I'm sorry.
Okay, I do want to say good morning to Jackie and Diane. And Kim loves the quilts behind me. This one. Isn't this great? I put that together last weekend. Isn't it awesome?
Somebody did call us out for having a slight bit of infatuation with coffee. I'm not sad about it.
Oh, and coffee. You know what else with crazy quilts? And they tend to sometimes use all different kinds of fabric. So like velvet, some whatever other. Yeah. So that makes sense.
Right. So.
Sorry, I like to sidetrack Jason.
You really
Can you
do.
tell?
I have a structure here that I'm following, so I can always go back. We are not paid video professionals, so we do this for fun.
Right.
And to help you out. So enjoy it. Go with it.
Right.
So the higher the loft, the fluffier the quilt is going to appear. This is the important part that we're trying to get at.
So you were saying like baby quilts.
Baby quilts, you want a little fluffier. Otherwise, maybe not. If it's an everyday general use, you may want, whatever.
Something else. But like cotton, generally you want on things that have to lay flat. If you want to put something on the wall, if you want to hang something, especially if you want to put something on the table, that you're going to then set so in my opinion, placemats,
candle holder.
Right.
With a lit
table
candle.
Runner. Yeah, you don't want it to be fluffy and it's like, oh
my God.
Right.
Don't do that.
So, so that's definitely something that you want, something that's going to lay flat. The other thing with cotton is it has a very nice drape. We talk about this drape situation?
We can, but let's wait till we get to that section of the thing.
Okay.
Loft. We're at right now. So, when it comes to a loft, commonly speaking, those are going to be types of battings that are, naturally fibered-ish. So your cotton and your blend battings usually have a thin layer to them, so they're not lofty.
Even bamboo.
You can get a polyester batting that is low loft. It's a little fluffier than just regular old cotton, but it still doesn't have to be poofy. So, but your loftier ones, you can have your natural wool batting, which may not look like it's lofty here, but it actually does have a nice poof to it.
Yeah,
this one's been kind of used a lot for demonstration purposes. So
it does show off your quilting nicely,
yes.
Just like poly. Poly shows that quilting, that definition of the quilting where the cotton and the 80-20 are fine. I mean, they still show quilting, but sometimes it's just, I feel like they show it off a little better.
Right. The other thing you need to be aware of when it comes to your battings is scrim. So you're going to hear this term occasionally, depending on which battings you're looking at and what you're going to do with that. Scrim is nothing more than a polyester interfacing mesh. What's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, just like
interfacing. Is that what I was looking
for? You had a good word in there, I thought.
Thin mesh stabilizer. Stabilizer.
There we go.
There's the word. Read your notes, Jason. You'll do better.
Because if you think about it, they're putting this cotton together. And we've had some battings that don't have a scrim. And especially when you're using it on a machine, I feel like a scrim is very nice to have because as you straighten your batting and you kind of tug on it just slightly, if there's no scrim, you could put a thumbprint in it. If you get real after it, you could put your thumb through it. So, that is going to go inside and you're going to quilt over it. And, so if you make a mistake of kind of pulling too hard, you can get past that. But it is very nice to have a layer of scrim on your batting, just so that it is easier to tug on a little bit and make it lay flat like you want.
So as you can see, there's not a lot of give to tugging on this, whereas if you have something that doesn't have a stabilizer, there's a lot of give to that. I probably should stop doing that.
So with the poly though, like I don't really feel like I need a scrim because I'm not going to put my thumb through it when I pull on it. It does have a little more stretch to it. It's not as stabilizing.
Correct. And it's also with the stabilizer, with that scrim in there, if you're looking to do large open quilting, it's going to be a little more stable during the duration of that quilt's life, washing and cleaning and all that stuff. Most quilts packagings, most battings packagings will tell you how close your quilt stitches have to be.
And the reason for that is once they have been laundered, if you are not quilting enough, then that batting inside can shift. If you've got a 12-inch block and you're like, I'm just going around the outside, I'm not doing that, and the batting package says you have to stitch every 4 inches, and you've just left 12 unstitched, you can then see, like when you have your sandwich, that might move. It might pucker up this way, like so. Look at the packaging. If you buy, like from us, if you come in and you tell me you want, I don't know, 2 yards of batting and we get it for you off the roll and we don't give you what the packaging, like any kind of, because it's not in a package, that's what I'm getting at. You can always ask and we can tell you this is 80-20, you need to stitch every 10 inches or 5 inches or whatever. So
all brands have a recommendation out there somewhere, and sometimes it's just an easy Google search to find that answer. So anyway, scrim is always an important thing to know about, whether it's on your batting or not. Some have it, some don't. Some are designed that way. That's just how it works out.
So I have not seen that wool has a scrim. I guess it's very similar.
Seen many of them,
like this. Also, both. I'm sure you're gonna. I don't know if you're gonna get to this. I'm gonna talk about it right now.
Okay.
Both wool and poly are very easy to hand quilt through.
Very much so.
Because you can see, I mean, there's air in there, right? You can get your needle in and out of that. We have lots of people that do hand quilting at their churches, and most of the churches like the poly batting because it doesn't have that scrim.
Nope.
It's like, first of all, even with the cotton that maybe, even if it doesn't have a scrim, it's still a little bit tighter woven. So you've got to get through your quilt top, your batting, and your backing, and you want to be able to do that relatively easily.
Right. It's not saying you can't do it, but this is a lot easier to poke a needle through than this, especially with multiple layers happening. So, yes, that is a note in there on the floofy guys. We'll get to that. So there are some basic types of batting that we carry, that we usually deal in. The first type is usually your cotton, and we've talked about cotton battings. It is an all-natural fiber, so that's always nice. Joanne asked the question of, does cotton batting last longer? I haven't seen anything that tells whether, like the life of batting, which one's the better for duration of life. What I would probably refer back to is the quality of the batting that you've purchased. If you found the absolute cheapest batting you could find out there and you bought that and you used that, I would question its integrity for its life. But it's also quilted inside of a sandwich, and so
I feel like if you're following the recommendations as far as how much stitching you need to do, also the recommendations on care, because I'm sure we're going to get to care, but wool is a little bit, you don't want to put this in a hot dryer. Wool has a shrink rate that's a little bit different than what your standard cottons are, and it may shrink up a little bit differently. And so then maybe that quilt doesn't last as long because now it's not as pretty because this has shrunk differently, So when it comes to longevity, I think that your battings are all going to be mostly about the same. We haven't outlived battings at this point, is what it comes down to. I think that follow the directions on how much stitching and follow the directions on care, and your stuff's going to last a long time.
Absolutely. So with more cotton, why the pros of cotton? Why we love cotton, aside from it being a natural fiber, it's soft and breathable.
Breathable. Breathability is huge for me.
If you are a warm-bodied person, well, I guess warm-natured maybe. I think we're all fairly warm-bodied, 98.6, kind of that par area. Right. Anyway.
But I tend to get hot, and I don't like to be hot also. Right. Number one, get hot. Number two, don't like it. If this is you,
right?
Cotton is nice because it's more breathable than your poly.
Right. So, again, it will hang nicely. It will breathe well, especially if you're hot-natured, so that's good for that. We have notes that it softens and shrinks slightly. Again, that could be based off of what our information is using the Warm and Natural brand of battings. This is Warm and White, so it's got a white bleached color to it. But Warm and Natural, it's all the same. They say that their battings will not shrink much. And typically, it doesn't shrink near as much as some other materials I've seen. So, which is good, especially, for durability if you're going to give it as a gift to somebody and you're not sure how that's going to be treated, whether or not you give them directions or not. So, all right. The next guy we want to talk about is another natural fiber, type 1, wool. Probably should have started with wool because I kind of really like the wool one myself.
Wool is my favorite. Okay, so anybody who's thinking wool is hot.
Or itchy or
itchy.
Your typical wool feelings because, wool.
Right.
I immediately got scratchy. I'm like, oh, gosh, no, it's not.
Right.
It's in between two layers of beautiful cotton.
Right. So you're not going to feel that.
You're not going to feel that. When it comes to wool, it's warm. It's lightweight. It's warm. It is so much more breathable than cotton. It's great for all climates. Now, I believe it was you that told me that the southern states. Go ahead.
Yeah. There are lots of southern state. I have ran into many people who live in hot climates who say, "Oh, all I use is wool." Because if you're going to have a quilt on you in a state that is always hot, it's better to have the wool. It is more breathable. It also wicks away any sweat. Yes, we all sweat. Okay.
Well, you do. It happens.
So those are great things for this particular batting situation.
Absolutely. So it's also referred to as the warmest batting because, it's light and it's airy. So those air pockets really help keep you warm. So, but again, with the breathability, it's really kind of crazy. Wool, it's magical. Unless you're allergic to it, then don't use it.
Right. So that is something that I've heard more than I've heard from any, I haven't heard of people who are allergic to cotton.
Yeah.
Maybe there are some who are allergic to cotton. I haven't found a lot of people who are allergic to bamboo. That has not been an issue that I've heard. But frequently I've heard of people who are allergic to wool. So I generally say stay away from putting wool in a baby quilt because we don't know yet.
Right.
Baby's not here yet. We don't know if the baby's going to be allergic to wool. Now you've made this wonderful quilt and they can't be near it.
Right. So let's not chance that one.
Right. So, that's one thing. It is a little bit more tricky, so they say, to take care of. So, utility quilts. This is what I make. I make quilts because I want people to use them, and I want them to use them until they fall apart. Right. Hopefully that's a long time from now, right? But I want it to be thrown on the floor for the baby to crawl on. I want it to be taken to the picnic, So maybe in utility quilts, I'm not going to use a lot of wool because you want utility quilts to be washed a lot. I will tell you though, my quilts that are on my bed will always have wool. They are even though, yes, I'm using it, but I know how to take care of it. It's not that difficult. We have our wool that we currently have is washable. You don't want to put it in hot water.
Nope.
I generally don't wash much of anything in hot water.
Right.
Towels that I want to, get every germ imaginable out of. I'm bleaching them and I'm hot water. Okay. But besides that, I wash most things in cold. Anyway, who cares how I wash things? Okay.
It's okay.
But and I wouldn't put it in a hot dryer. You know, the wool could shrink differently than your cottons that you use in your top and back, and you don't want it to kind of.
So I've read packaging that on batting that says pre-shrunk or won't shrink or whatever. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't believe that. I've had pre-shrunk clothing, and I can tell you I can shrink it.
You can.
I have got that special talent. So
we got a new dryer. I'm hoping, like, if you just leave it on the medium heat, I think it'll be okay.
I put it as hot as it can possibly go. I figure if it's like pulling it out of an oven, I can't go wrong.
He's like, we got a new dryer, and he took something out, and he's like, well, this isn't even hot.
It's not even hot anymore.
No, it's got a cool down cycle.
Yeah,
like, come on.
Gee, let's be fancy. Anyway. That happens. It does. So wool, again, it's a great one. It's awesome if you use it. Just, again, this is going to be one of those battings that I would recommend you give care instructions if you're using it as a gift.
Yes.
Make sure you launder it appropriately according to all the directions, for sure. But again, natural. How do you go wrong with natural? I don't. The other one we have to discuss in the natural category is bamboo. I do not have a section of that in here with me. It is very similar to 80-20, except that the one we currently have is a 50-50 blend. 50% cotton, 50% bamboo. It's light, it's natural, it's bamboo. It's a very renewable resource.
Very renewable. Like, it can grow fast and a lot.
Right.
So that sounds great to me.
What I have found with bamboo is that in weight comparison, the same amount of bamboo is just a slight bit lighter than such as your cotton.
We have definitely found that like when we go to hang something on the wall, and this one has cotton or 80-20, and this one has bamboo. It's like, oh, I mean, because in this much square inch, you can't really tell the difference. Right. But once you have a quilt that's done and everything, and you're like, wow, that's pretty lightweight.
Right.
The bamboo is very nice for that.
Right, exactly. Which is nice. And because it's bamboo and it's more of a renewable resource, it generally is slightly cheaper, cost-effective wise,
than your 100% cotton.
As your cotton battings. So you get that loft, you get your natural fibers, it's a little bit lighter. Again, some may say the lighter is the downside because sometimes you want that quilt that's got the heavy heft, makes you feel warm and cuddly.
Right.
Bamboo's nice and cuddly. It may not have as much weight.
Right.
But that's okay. Just a matter of personal preference, what you're looking for in life.
Exactly.
So bamboo, wool, cotton, natural fibers, awesome. Love using them as much as possible. Okay. The next one we're going to talk about is 80-20 blend.
Right.
Okay. What do we know about 80-20 blend?
So the 80 is cotton.
Okay.
And 20 is polyester.
Okay.
So it's still 80% cotton. So we still have the nice breathability.
Right.
Not as breathable because it's not 100%, but 80%. But it has the loft of the poly. It's being able to get some loft by using that poly.
Okay.
If you're using 100% cotton, you cannot get much loft.
Not as much.
I mean, that's what I found.
It's just denser, like
right.
Built up thick layer of it.
Right. So you have a little bit of loft. You still have the breathability. So I generally call it kind of like the best of both worlds.
Yes.
You've got, because there is some poly in it, you're generally not going to be able to put your thumb through it when you go to straighten it out. Usually there's a scrim. And it does show the definition of your quilting a little bit better than the cotton because it's got that poly aspect to it.
Right.
So it is also not as expensive as your 100% cotton because they were able to use a little bit of poly. So that the cost effectiveness of this is great.
I would have to say almost by far 80-20 is used. We use this more. I mean, we have choices, and I think 80-20 is more frequently chosen than any of the other battings that we have.
Absolutely. We use it all the time.
It's kind of hard to go wrong with. Again, for the cost effectiveness, for the little bit of loft you get to get a little bit of visual on it.
It's easy to take care of. You don't have to stitch as close together as you would on some other batting. So all of those things make for it being a very versatile batting.
Right. And this one that we have and that we use has a scrim to it, so it's got that stability. Again, great for that.
Bleached in black. You can get it in, so it comes in cream, like your natural color.
Yep.
And then we have it in bleached. If you have a white quilt, sometimes that is necessary. And we also have it in black.
And sometimes it comes with free threads from a quilt shop.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Now, I do want to say that sometimes people get I must have the black batting because I've got a black quilt and a black backing, and I don't want bearding. Are we going to talk about bearding?
I don't have it on here, but it's not a bad conversation.
So we do not generally have bearding. Mm-hmm. I think that it comes from not having a sharp needle, and you're pushing things through rather than piercing, and getting your thread through there. You're actually pushing batting through. So we're using a new needle. We're using the correct size needle for your project. If you're using a big fat needle and it's dull, these are both bad things. Also, we have good quality battings, so none of because sometimes you can get an expensive batting that then those fibers are not really tight together, and then as you push, then you can grab a hold and pull some of that batting out.
And that is kind of where the scrim conversation comes into play. So that scrim is that interfacing. Usually that's interfacing stabilizer. Yes, ma'am. I was wrong. When your batting's last folded together, it's going to be a wrong side, effectively. If you're using that towards the bottom of your quilt as you push through that, if your interfacing is pointed upwards, stabilizer, and you push the needle through there, you're effectively pushing that material out of that stabilizer, and so therefore it's easier to come out the backside. Right. So if you have a stabilizer, if you have a scrim, I would recommend that you put that texture to feeling side, which is
the scrim side
down, and then the smooth side will be up towards your quilt top. So it pushes the same direction that you're trying to travel with your needle. That will help with the bearding if you're experiencing that. If yours doesn't have scrim and you're experiencing the bearding, yeah, for sure, check your needle, change it.
Right. So what I was getting at is you really don't have to use a black batting. No. If you are using the right size needle and that kind of stuff. But it is nice if you are doing something where maybe you could see that white. If you have a white batting in between black on black, and you're like, oh man, I don't want to see that where I punched a hole in this fabric, and now I can see that batting in there. So it is nice to have options.
To have colored options on your batting, for sure. Also, with bearding, I've never experienced it to fully deal with it myself, but I have read multiple places that if you have bearding, it's not a bad idea to just wash it, and usually that helps resolve the bearding. I don't recommend. Multiple people said don't start pulling on it trying to trim it off. Apparently, that's a terrible decision.
That sounds like something I would do, though. I'd be like, why? Let me fix this.
Suddenly, there's no batting left.
Right.
Sorry. So yeah, just usually a good wash helps resolve a lot of that. So, good conversation. Thank you for bringing that up. Sure. I forgot about bearding. Okay, moving forward. Any more that we want to talk about? 80-20. Vicky asked if it was needle punched. I don't remember what needle punched means. Do you know what it means? I feel like that's like a cotton thing, and that makes it easier to hand quilt with. And I don't know if this
it pushes the fibers. We should have more information.
I didn't write enough down on that, Vicky.
I remember reading several times about needle punch, and that it pushes it like into the stabilizer.
Yeah.
So don't have.
Oh, then that's what I used for the term for like using a felting style.
Right.
So same concept, probably, most likely. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. So I guess if there's a scrim, you're going to have that.
Right.
Makes sense. Okay. Moving on. Quickly.
Polyester.
Polyester. So, polyester is just that. It's just a poly material, and it's a super lofty, fluffy, squishy material. It's very lightweight. It's very durable because, well, it's plastic, basically. It's great for showing off your quilting.
Right.
So, if you really want that design that you're going to stitch into there to just like stand out and be amazing, this would be one of those lofty battings that you would want to use to get that relief.
It also doesn't have a memory.
This is one of the best conversations I've heard.
So also people are like, huh? Okay. So when you fold your quilt, that cotton remembers where that crease is. Okay. So when you then lay it open, it leaves that crease on there.
Yeah.
You almost have to iron it to get it to be,
go away, yeah.
You know, lessened. But when you could fold a quilt up and put it and take it to a quilt show, and it's been in the trunk for 2 weeks because you were traveling, I don't know. Anyway, and you get there
by boat.
And you open it up and it's all good because it doesn't have it's not going to leave creases in your quilts. If you have a low loft, you could have a slight crease, but once you hang it, shake it out, it's going to be just fine. So that's a benefit to poly. Another benefit is it's easy to hand quilt through. Another is the definition of the quilting.
Yeah.
The downside to me is that it is still going to keep you warm just like anything else. It is not hotter, so to speak, but it doesn't breathe as well. So even though you can see through it, right? It just is not as breathable. If you think about a polyester suit,
yes,
versus the wool suit, okay, I'm
sweating already.
A polyester suit is going to hold that heat in. Polyester batting going to hold that heat in. So for me, a hot-natured person, I can deal with this for a little while, and then I'm like, nope,
done.
Now I'm hot, then the quilt's off, then the quilt's back on, you know, all those kind of things. So it is less breathable. Machine washable.
It is, for sure. Most of these are, again, with the proper quilting, but for sure, if you're going to give a gift to somebody and they're going to just live with it, live it. Like, live the best life it can. Not a bad choice.
Right.
However, Cindy did make this comment about poly can melt and lump up if dried in too hot of a dryer. I've never been able to do this.
Jason would be able to do this.
I haven't had an opportunity to try this. I kind of want to now because why not? Other than it's a terrible idea.
Terrible idea.
So, as with most things, read the care directions and then encourage whoever your recipient is to also be careful.
Right.
Because could you imagine pulling it out and it's all like lumpy and weird because now it's cooled off and hardened and got plastic.
Oh my gosh.
No man.
No
this sounds terrible.
I mean, I think it would have to be pretty dang hot.
I don't even know.
I don't know either, but I know that
if I got a dryer I can borrow.
You could just turn the one at home on high heat.
Can I? See what happens. Oh Lord. The other thing I did read about poly, which is a very true statement, that it does resist mold and mildew.
Oh, right.
Because your natural fibers are organic. Organic can host mold quite well.
Right.
Polyester, being a polyplastic material, no, it doesn't do it. It resists that, so which is kind of cool.
So you don't want to put this away in storage if it's damp.
Good Lord, no.
Because you could get this quilt back out next year. Like, okay, I'm going to wash the quilts. I'm going to put them away. Make sure they're dry. You don't want to have...
Make sure they're dry.
Now, like the wool would wick away, but if you then put it into one of those like plastic sealed container type bags or whatever, it might then nothing can get out. Right.
And again, this is a relative conversation because this by itself is fine to get wet and won't host mold and mildew. However, this is inside of your cotton material.
Exactly.
So just don't do that.
Right.
So anyway. Polyester, love it.
Good.
Now, I did make note as using flannel as a batting. I didn't bring any flannel in here, but I've seen this a couple of times, and it's not a terrible idea. It gives you a very thin layer of batting, makes it lightweight.
Gives you that third layer.
That third layer to help hide your stitches a little better. Makes it a very pliable quilt for the kids to beat up and play with because that's what they do. Doesn't add a whole lot of weight to it. So. Flannel is not a terrible idea as a batting. You absolutely could use flannel as a batting. Right. So if you've been considering that idea, it's not a bad idea at all. Cindy said that the poly melting feels awful, so don't do that.
Yeah.
Carol says the poly disappeared on my granddaughter's baby quilt from years of use and hot dryer.
Oh.
Holy free holies. All right. Yeah. Don't do it. Don't. Ooh, good Lord. Keep the polyester out of hot dryers.
Right.
again, you wouldn't have that necessary melty problem with your natural fibers, but shrinkage would be a real conversation on that side. So hot is never your best friend in that condition. So, the other thing that I didn't bring in here, and I was going to, when it comes to your battings, I have been asked, especially in the long arm certification class when I have them, and I talk about the battings that we're going to use, been asked about, can I piece a batting together for my quilt? I refer to that as Franken battings because you're piecing parts of that batting together. You absolutely can do this. It's okay, especially if you've got parts of batting and some quilts you've got in your scraps back, and now what do I do with these bits and pieces?
I feel like if they're big pieces, not
I wouldn't take pieces like this and smash it together.
Now you've got like a whole piece thing on the inside and a piece thing on the outside.
Yeah, you want to be cautious about it. But what I would do is I do recommend keep it like battings. So I wouldn't be putting an 80-20 and a cotton together or a wool and a cotton or anything. Don't mix and match the types.
Right.
If you're using a natural fiber that doesn't have a plastic element to it, a polyester, use the interfacing
the tape?
That's interface tape that you can just put across it and just heat press that, and that seams that together. You don't have to go wild stitching it together because you're going to put it inside a quilt and stitch it down and it'll be just fine. When your polyester ones,
I just do a big fat basting stitch, through it so that, because I'm going to stitch it again here in a minute, So as long as I can get them butted up next to each other and I can just whip stitch it all the way down.
Pull it together, because your goal is you don't want those two pieces of batting shifting while you're working on it, because then it'll leave a gap, and that could be uncomfortable having an awkward space there between the batting layers.
Absolutely.
If you have some 80-20 and you don't really want to chance the idea of putting a hot iron to it for the interfacing material, you can butt them next to each other and just do a zigzag stitch with your machine and just zigzag across there. Don't piece it together like, a sandwich and then fold that open, because then you've got a seam.
And that's no good.
And this,
where do you put that seam at?
In your quilt? That's no bueno. Don't do that.
So first of all, we just said we didn't want to take an iron to it because it's got some poly in it.
Right.
And now we've got a seam. Okay, so am I going to press it? No, can't press it.
You're going to have a terrible time.
Just butt it up next to each other, zigzag. You can do a pretty wide zigzag, but also you can do a pretty long stitch. You don't have to put it down to a tiny little.
It doesn't have to be a crazy
wide zigzag with a long.
Hold it all together, just enough to keep that stable so it doesn't shift on you.
Right.
That's the important part of it. And then once it's quilted together, you'll never know the difference.
Exactly.
The recipient will have no idea that you put those two pieces of batting together and didn't give me a brand new one. I don't know. I don't care. It's fine.
Especially like we have rolls of batting, right? And we use a 96-inch wide piece for the length on something that's only 60 inches long. I got a 30-inch piece here. Maybe it's not very, 30 inches is not going to cover most quilts, but two of those and I can make a width pretty easily.
Right. For sure.
So
absolutely. Speaking of that, so the question is, how do I buy my batting? Well, you have two options, really. You have prepackaged battings that you can purchase from your local quilt shop, or you can buy it off the roll.
Right.
As long armors, we have rolls of these types of batting back in the back with our long arms.
Right.
So what's the benefit of either?
Right.
So prepackaged, they're already contained for you in a nice compact container.
It's easy. You're in and out of a store. You don't have to wait for me to cut it. There's no, it tells you what size it is. You know what size your quilt is. You know what size that is. Everybody's happy. You're in and out the door.
Right, and so they're cut to very common sizes. You have your I've seen craft size, which is about half that of a baby.
Right.
You got your baby, your twin, your full, your queens, your kings, all the things.
What I have found, though, is most quilts do not adhere to said size.
Generally not. That is usually the problem.
Right. I thought this was queen, but it's really, that queen batting is huge, or vice versa. Right.
So with that in mind, if you buy a batting that's the wrong size, you can always cut it down if it's too large and make it work.
Yeah.
Or if buying it off a roll is an option, if your local quilt shop, such as us, has that available to you, you can come in and you can buy just the amount of inches you need
Right.
For your quilt.
Yeah. From us, you can come in and tell me I want 64 inches.
Right.
Then I do math and put in whatever decimal that is.
Right.
You do not have to go, oh, well, I need 64 inches. I guess I have to get 2 yards, which is 72. And now I've got, this extra. What am I going to do with it? I'm paying for something I don't want.
The question then becomes, how much do I need? This is an important question.
Absolutely.
To know that, you need your quilt top size, and you're going to want your batting to be larger than your quilt top. And we just encourage people just do the same as you would with your backing, which is 4 inches all the way around your quilt top. So if you have a 40 by 50 quilt, you need 48 by 58 for backing and for batting. That gives you plenty, especially if you're using a long arm, and that way your top will have batting underneath it across the whole thing.
I do know hand quilters, you don't need as much. Okay, but you still need your batting to be as big as your back. That's just rough, makes easy math.
Makes it easier that way. So, let me see here. And again, it can be more cost effective to buy it off the roll if you have that option available to you.
Right, like buying 64 inches versus buying, having to go get a twin size.
Right.
Which is now 72 by 90, and my quilt's only 60 by 80. You know what I mean? Like, so now you're buying too much batting both directions.
Right.
We're not going to cut it to exactly the size, if you want, but we're going to cut how many inches you want, and then you'll get it by the width of the batting.
Absolutely. So just some other things to consider. Make sure, as we've said repeatedly, follow the care instructions with the batting. Again,
yes.
Get it off the roll, and we don't have one that we give it to you. It is all available. Know who the manufacturer is, and again, just a Google search on that can tell you how to best handle your batting. Most importantly, I
think that most 80-20 is the same. Most 100% cotton is the same.
Pretty standard.
They're pretty standard. They're not going to be, this particular one because it is Pellon, or this one that is Hobbs might be different. Like, they're usually pretty close to the same. Pretty
much the same. It's not, there's a lot of choices, but it's all very much the same, and just whose label's being slapped on it. Just be aware of all that.
Right.
Again, make note of your shrinkage rates. A lot of them will have a recommended, like a percentage expectation of how much it may shrink up when you first wash and dry it.
Right.
So be aware of that. Some may offer the suggestion of pre-washing it. Well, a lot of the ones we get nowadays don't have that as a suggestion.
I can't even imagine trying to pre-wash a batting.
It sounds like a terrible idea. I'm not encouraging such things. Just read thoroughly, as always, and then always know your recipient's allergens if they have them.
Correct.
So these are the battings that we currently have. You brought that. Do you want to talk about this at all, or
not really? I mean, we are looking at getting Quilter's Dream batting. They have. I mean, there's so many options.
So many options.
So many options of batting. They have, this one is the one that I really want to try.
I'm excited about this one, by the way.
There is one that is Dream Green, which is green batting. Okay, it's not green in color.
Green. It's environmentally friendly.
It's made from 100% recycled plastic bottles.
So it's effectively like a polyester batting.
Right.
It's kind of very low loft. But recycled plastic bottles, how cool is that?
It does make me happy.
Idea.
So 1 pound of Dream equals 10 bottles rescued from our landfills. So I actually have a couple of T-shirts that are 100% recycled bottles. And I love them. They're super soft.
Yeah, we may have to get some packages of that just to check out how well it stitches up. Because I kind of love the idea, actually.
Right. But is it going to be too hot?
I don't know. We don't know.
Don't know. But anyway, if you've used Quilter's Dream before and you love it, please let me know. If you've used it and you don't love it, let me know. I would really like to know other people's opinions. We have all of a sudden run into a lot of this time I can't order what I used to order. Now I have to get a different brand. Now Kelly tells me she doesn't like this brand.
This brand is terrible.
No, and we've got 30 yards of it.
Right.
So we're trying to consolidate. Get one batting provider instead of having all these different people
And
that
what
we're
I
dealing with.
really like about just the quilter stream batting conversation is that they do not sell to anybody other than quilt shops.
Right.
You cannot find it in a big box store. So that's kind of this aspect of them that I really like the idea of. So
I love that I can order, there's no minimum order, which is nice. And I can order like one batting if I needed it. If somebody is like, I really want that green batting.
And I don't have to buy a whole roll.
I don't have to buy a 30-yard roll and find out that.
And then 4 more to go with it
Right.
just to get it here.
Right. And their shipping's reasonable. It seems like this is going to be a great win-win.
Yeah.
So,
and there's a couple people already jumping in with the quilter stream and they love it. So, okay. Well, then that might be just what happens. And that's how it works out. So that's all the conversation I have on batting today. I hope that you guys get something from this. Again, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to comment here. Send us an email, Facebook message us,
all the things.
All the things. Come in and talk with us about it. We will gladly give you the information we feel you could use. Other important things to know about Monday flash sale, as always, every Monday. Starts
every
at 9 a.m.,
Monday.
ends at midnight. Something's going on sale.
Right.
I don't know what.
Right.
For a good price because that's what she does.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you check that out on the website every Monday, 9 a.m. cozyquilting.com/shop.
Right.
Every Wednesday, flash sale. Right here.
6
p.m.
6 p.m.
We show you something. It's on either comment here or buy it from the website. Some people don't like to comment and have people, snooping their comments. Again, mind your own business, people, sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, really. Like
Are you buying
get out of
again?
my business.
Are you buying again from Warm N Cozy?
I mean, yes. Because
yes,
we're
I am.
fantastic.
Worry about yourself.
If you don't want to deal with that, you're welcome to buy from the website. Those sale prices will be the same, either commenting here or buying from the website. So always worth checking out.
We'll be back next Saturday.
We'll be back next Saturday.
We talked about the modern city sampler.
We did. 100
blocks. You can do it virtually.
You can sign up through the website. Go to the shop page. You can sign up there. Just search city sampler, 100 modern blocks. And it's $30 sign up fee. All the good stuff. Man, I can't think of anything else I need to tell them informational wise other than been fun today.
Super fun.
Come and see us. What we do. And if I'm ready to get out of here, I think maybe you're ready to get out of here.
I am.
Then let's get the heck out of here. We'll see you guys soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.